I cannot believe I just made fused glass look-alike, faux fused glass with resin. This is my favorite UV resin thing I've ever made. So I was scrolling through Pinterest like we all do, and I came across the most adorable fused glass sea creatures. So cute. My first thought was, I wonder how expensive it is to get into the hobby of fused glass. And then I quickly reminded myself of the stream of craft supplies that continually come in the door, and I better not start a new hobby. But I was so inspired that I decided I was going to try to figure out a way to recreate the fused glass look using resin, specifically UV resin. You could use epoxy resin, but I'm impatient, so I opted for UV resin. And here's what happened. So after my first few attempts at using different pigments and mica powders and glitters, I came up with these. Aren't they adorable? Now I'm going to recreate these in a little bit simpler way and show you how I did it so that maybe you'd be inspired to try to create something too. If you want to try something that's more beginner friendly, go back and watch my last video where I showed you how to make UV resin jewelry using everything inexpensively in one kit. But this project I'd say is a little step up from that because it's kind of a lot of experimenting and different pigments and playing, but you can absolutely give this a try even if you're a beginner. So some of the things you'll need are a silicone resin mold in the shape of a jellyfish. Now, this mold came in a kit from Let's Resin. I'll try to find that and link that below. As a matter of fact, I'll link everything I use below with discount codes if I have them. You'll also want to wear some protective gear, gloves, and I often use a respirator because I'm super sensitive to resin. And I also have an air purifier going in my room. I've got some holographic mica glitter flakes. I've got some Let's Resin alcohol inks. And you'll need UV resin and a UV resin light, of course. I also like to have on hand alcohol wipes to wipe my gloves and equipment off as I'm going. And mixing cups and sticks. So after experimenting a while with this mold, I didn't take out the center piece and I just ended up filling it up with resin later. And it finally dawned on me to cut the tab out of it. I don't care if it has a tab in it. I'm totally obsessed with making jellyfish now. So that's all I did was I cut the tab out of it so that I could just pour in the mold and layer in the mold without worrying about that hole going through. Now, if you don't have a mold and you don't want to do all of the layering techniques that I do, you can simply just mix some glitters and pigments and free pour them onto a silicone mat, cure it, and go with your own freestyle jellyfish. It's just that I love to layer my projects, as you'll notice, and the layers really help give this the see-through jellyfish kind of cool artsy effect. And in this first little jellyfish, I wanted to try an experiment to see how my fairy film would look. I don't know what they call this now, but back years ago when I bought this, it was called fairy film. A lot of people used it when they were making art dolls for their fairy wings and stuff like that. I just cut out a piece and I heat it up with my embossing gun until it gets all wrinkly and crinkly. And then you can see it's got all this beautiful kind of holographic reflective quality, and depending on how you move it and how it catches the color and light, color shifts and changes. The first thing I do is put a thin layer of clear UV resin down in my mold. I'm heating it up a tad just to move it around and release the bubbles, although bubbles are perfect for jellyfish, so you really don't need to worry about bubbles in jellyfish. They go hand in hand. And then I'm going to cure that for 90 seconds. While that's curing, I'm going to cut out the shape of the jellyfish using one of the ones I had made previously out of my film. I'm going to place it down on top of my cured layer of resin. And then I'm going to add another layer of clear resin to this. Spread it around. I'm going to cure that for another 90 seconds. These are some other little jewelry pieces I made out of the same film. If you'd like me to do a tutorial on these, just comment below and let me know, but these turned out really cute too. All right, now our resin is finished curing, and let's see what we've got. Now I'm going to add my third layer of resin to this jellyfish. Spread it all around and cure it again. 90 seconds, and here's what we've got. So that's without any pigments and just using the fairy film, and you've got the cutest little jellyfish. I'm going to go ahead and dome the top of that up so it's rounded. And see, we don't mind those bubbles in there because jellyfish have bubbles in them. Cure it one more time, and here is the final piece. So you could be as simple as that without using any dye or anything. But let's move on and use some glitters and some inks. Putting down a clear layer of resin. I'm going to add these mica holographic flakes. Adding just a little bit of resin to them. And this will become my second layer. These little flakes will also pick up the light and color shift it in different ways. And now, while that's still wet, it's not cured yet, I'm going to take some of my alcohol ink. It's just one drop to a very little bit of resin. And I take my dropper tool and I'm just going to drop little bits of color here and there. And now I'm going to mix some blue using turquoise and blue together to get the color I'd like. Just one drop of each, mix it up, and then you're just going to take little drops because it spreads and it goes a long ways. And these are little pieces. And now I'm going to add more resin to that and let it kind of do its magic, move it around. And then I will cure that for 90 seconds. I'm going to add another top coat to that after it's cured and a little more color. You can play and build layers as much as your heart desires. So let's pull this out, and here's what you've got. You can make all different colors, add as little or as much. You might get a few rough edges on these, and I just take my nail buffing brush and smooth it out. And then I'll usually add another dome clear coat like I did before on that other jelly. And I've made a few more, and here's what they look like. And not any of them are identical. They're all unique because you can never create two equal pieces the same using this method. But aren't they pretty? Now, this is how we turn them into little jellyfish. I had to practice doing the squiggly lines. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to make perfect jellyfish squiggly lines, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm using a cold pressed cotton cardstock paper, and I'm also got these Japanese art pens. The paper and the pens are archival, and these pens were very smooth over the paper, so I like them better than Sharpies. So I practiced making my squigglies a little bit, and then I moved on, positioned my jellyfish, and put them on the paper where I thought it would look good. And then I just began making their little squigglies. I don't know about you, but I think these look pretty good considering we don't have fused glass and we used UV resin. And I'm excited to experiment and try a lot more colors. If you're gonna sell these, make sure that you coat your paper with some acrylic sealer. This Krylon matte works good. That way your ink is nice and protected and sealed in. And then I'm just taking a little dot of UV resin. I put my jellyfish where I want them, and I'm gonna cure them under the light. I practiced this on my other ones to make sure it worked well, and it adhered perfectly, and it's been a couple weeks since I made my first ones and they haven't moved or anything. And here is the final look at our faux fused glass jellyfish. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I am in love with these. I'm obsessed, and I can't wait to make many more colors. And I think these might sell really well. I hope that at the very least I've inspired you to try to create something too. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.
They say I'm acting crazy, but I just wanna lie in the sun.